Hi, Aries, and welcome to your reading for the second half of October. We're going to do our 12 card spread as always. And in your first house, your house, Aries, you have the Two of Pentacles. So, Aries, this is landing in your house of your essence, your sense of self, what makes you you, your spark, your fire. I mean, if you want to call it your sort of divine flame. So the Two of Pentacles landing in this house suggests that you're kind of balancing up your sense of self, your identity. So I'm wondering what you're weighing up. If there's a conflict, if you're feeling a bit like, but this is who I am, but am I actually this? I feel like there might be some balancing happening around your identity. So let's see what our clarifier has to say.
And in case anyone was distracted with what I was doing just before, I had the wrong deck of cards. So now I've got the right ones. Aries, in your first house as a clarifier, you've got the Nine of Pentacles, and this is the card of abundance. So this is going to be interesting, I think, Aries, being in your first house of identity, but that duality of the two pentacles being balanced at once in combo with the abundance tells me that this is going to be imperative in the way you balance priorities moving forward in the rest of this month. So how can you actually firstly identify what it is you're balancing? And secondly, how do you actually prioritize well? Maybe like making a list of things or eliminating things that are not so imperative to the abundance you're trying to create so that you can get closer to your goal.
Lovely. Aries, in your second house of resources, you have the Three of Pentacles. Interesting, Pentacles again. So the Three of Pentacles is about quality work and landing in your second house, which is your values and what you're resourced with. So what you're resourced with in terms of your gifts, skills, talents, abilities, something unique, some little flair that you have that can bring about your abundance, that can help you create and secure what you need in the world. I feel that this card is saying that you have some special skill, talent, gift, or ability that you are resourced with that can bring about your abundance, and it's getting attention, and you've gone above and beyond. I get the sense that you might be doubting this, but the attention that you're bringing in around this should negate that self-doubt that you have, which isn't, what you're typically known for, Aries. So I kind of feel sometimes that your vulnerability is very well hidden, but your vulnerability is going to be really, I think, galvanized by this validation and attention that you're getting around this creative project or work. But let's see what our clarifier says.
Yep. So Three of Pentacles, and then we've got the Knight of Swords. So here we go with higher energy Aries in the second house. I think maybe what it's saying and what's coming through to me is there's this project you're working on, some collaboration in a team, and an idea or a person is coming in really quick and fast just from the side out of nowhere. And it's up to you to determine, maybe this is part of that balancing that's happening in the first house of whether this interruption or this new idea is going to be useful or you need to just like give it the flick. So I would feel like this is a positive one because it's sitting alongside the Three of Pentacles card where everyone's collaborating and working together. So maybe this could be also you bringing in a higher energy into that. Maybe people are kind of sitting around just having meetings all the time and not really getting any work done. And you're just like, come on, we got to get to it. So maybe that's what's coming up for you too, Aries.
Thanks, Sam. I get that sense too that there's going to be a burst of energy that's going to get it out there into the world. So really exciting, Aries. In your third house of communication, Aries, you have the Judgment card. So this is a call to action. This is a call to a new life, landing in your house of communication. So I feel like maybe there's an offer coming in for you that represents a new life, or it could be an internal call to action. Let's see what our clarifier says.
Yeah. I'm just trying not to laugh because I've got so much noise happening around me right now. I've got people working on the house. I've got like the water rushing through and then drilling happening. So I'm just like, this is a lot going on, Aries.
You can relate to that, Aries.
Yeah, and it's coming up with the Judgment card is appearing. So Queen of Wands, she says, I don't give a beep about what other people think of what I'm doing or who I am. And the Judgment card, call to new life. I think, Aries, this is your chance to communicate in a very unique way that you've just been bursting to want to do this whole time, but have been held back for some reason. So, how can you kind of come into your own at this time? And how will that lead you to that abundance that's coming up in the second house? And also help you prioritize things better.
Exciting, Aries. You're doing really well, Em, with all of that work going on in
There's a
the
lot
background.
going on. It's good though. Yeah.
Woo! Yeah. Um, Aries, in your fourth house of home and what's familiar, chosen family, you have the Chariot. So this is full steam ahead energy, Aries, and showing up in your fourth house of home, family, chosen family, what's familiar, how you make yourself at home in the world. There's some sort of really strong forward momentum. This is around success. So I wonder if the support of your chosen family or family is what's galvanizing you to bring in this success that's indicated by the Chariot, or if there's going to be some sort of shared success with your family. Interesting. I kind of feel like the platform or the foundation that your family or your chosen family provides is feeding into this quick success and this kind of like a new life coming in for you. So the Chariot's full steam ahead, and he's kind of looking at the world that he's leaving behind, that he or she is leaving behind in the rear view mirror. It's that kind of energy. Let's see what our clarifier says, Aries.
Yeah. Okay, Five of Pentacles. So this card is typically around being careful of showing people too much of your vulnerability. It's really important to lead with vulnerability because that's actually quite strong to do that, even when it may feel scary to do so. But I think this card is asking you to choose where you do that and with whom you do that. And that kind of speaks to me around being careful of family of origin or someone that you're close to, but actually feeling kind of worried about how they're going to utilize your vulnerability against you. Something unsafe happening there. So what this card, the clarifier, also calls you to do is go towards the warmth, go towards the light that feels people who feel good for you and who surround you with goodness and reassurance and healthy challenging, not just criticism. So that's what I would say there, Aries.
I love that. Beautiful. Aries, in your fifth house of creative expression, you have the Empress. So the Empress is a card of easy abundance. She only has to wave that scepter to make the wheat grow. So I feel like your creative expression, there's a new sense of ease around that. Could be a creative project or just how you're expressing yourself more creatively in the world generally. I feel that you're doing this with a sense of ease that's bringing about a lot of attention for you, because with this ease that you're doing this, I feel like there's a lot of authenticity. So maybe that's coming from that vulnerability, being more at ease around that vulnerability that Em was just talking about. So this is, I also get the sense, Aries, that abundance is going to come in for you around something that's deeply creative for you. Let's see what our clarifier says.
So the creativity is coming through the Six of Swords. And the Six of Swords is about leaving the shore to new land. It's leaving something behind. There is a grief element to that. And maybe it is connecting to that the notion that in order for us to get past something, we have to go through it and really feel it. If you're feeling particularly vulnerable at this time, maybe that's not so advisable. But if you can get yourself to a place where you can reflect safely, if difficult feelings come up and they're not too overwhelming, you can really benefit from the growth and the learning that comes out of that reflective space. But it's time to move into something different. Maybe the creative expression that you've been engaging in to this point hasn't really been rewarding you as much as you'd like. So what kinds of things are things that you really wished you could do again, or something new that you'd like to do? that would bring on that connection to the inner self.
I love that, Em. And I feel like you going for this creative expression is going to bring about great expansion for you, Aries. So really lovely. In your sixth house of work, you have the Nine of Wands. So this is our wounded warrior. It's a card of persistence and perseverance, determination, not quitting, not giving up. So showing up in your sixth house of work, I feel like it's just saying that this is the energy that's coming through for you in the workplace. I get the sense that you've earned your stripes, you've got something to say, you know what you're talking about, you know what you're doing, and you're really standing your ground. And perhaps this has, because he is the wounded warrior, so perhaps this feels a little hard won. So this full steam ahead work energy, perhaps you need to kind of take a bit of time just to lick your wounds. Let's see what our clarifier says.
Yeah. Oh, clarifier says King of Wands. So did we get the King of Wands in the other cards on your end there, Fran, or no?
No, not that I can see.
Oh, maybe it was a different reading. But we do have the Queen of Wands in a clarifier as well. So having the King and Queen is kind of like that completion of partnership or some kind of relationship or friendship. So the King of Wands is saying assertion, being clear, knowing how to trust your own sense of direction to take you to places that you need to go. And I'm hearing with this one as well, it's important to make good decisions, and you definitely want the King of Wands for that. And it's also useful to know when to rest. So that's also an important decision to make. The concept of rest as resistance can come up too, where it may feel like you're doing nothing by resting, but actually it's an act of empowerment. So just checking out where that may be necessary, Aries.
Really nice, Em. Aries, in your seventh house of relationship, beautiful. You have the Six of Pentacles. So this is about shared resources and knowing how to share your resources, knowing how much to give of yourself in relationship, and knowing how much, in a literal sense, how much materially you have to give. So it's inner resources, knowing how much you have to give, and actual resources, knowing how much you have to give out. So I get the sense that you're coming into an understanding of how to balance yourself in relationship, and that comes from maybe finding that balance within. You know yourself better, you know how much you can give, you know how much you have to rest and maybe go a little bit in. Let's see what our clarifier says.
It's funny because when you're talking, the lovers fell out, and this is in the seventh house of relationships. So it is knowing how much you have to give, how much you need to keep for yourself. And it's pretty straightforward here in this reading. It's a very clear message to say, paying attention to how your relationships are going at the moment. Just kind of like checking the health of them, essentially. And how is that reflective of your relationship with yourself? Do you feel like you can put healthy boundaries in place? Can you maintain them? If you're struggling with that, do you need some support from other people? Maybe talking it through in therapy or speaking to a very trusted mentor or supervisor. So it's about knowing where to draw the line, but also knowing that as much as it's important to be in relationship and connected, it's also important to have a degree of separation. And that separateness will enable you to stay connected to your identity and who you are.
That's really lovely, Em. And just when you were speaking, I had a bit of a flash of inspiration around, for some of you, Aries, there's a sense of trying to be all things to all people, and maybe feeling that you can't set a boundary with a significant other, and that's a huge red flag. I don't think that's a message for all of you, but for some of you, if you can't set a boundary, if you can't say no and just put across your very realistic limitations about whatever to your significant other, that is a huge red flag. So as Em said, have a chat to somebody. So moving right along, Aries, in your eighth house of transformation and shared resource. Oh, you have the lovers.
Interesting.
But so for those of you looking for love, I get the sense that somebody's coming in, and maybe you're going to meet them in an eighth house setting, which is all about transformation. So that would be maybe a meditation class, a yoga class, or just something to do with that kind of how to transform anything. It might not necessarily be woo-woo. So what's transforming for you? Actually, I just had a bit of a flash. I get the feeling that the person that's coming in for you is going to be like a catalyst and is going to be quite transformational for you in a really positive sense. And they're going to be reflective of the inner transformational work you've done on yourself, Aries, because it's always as within, so without. Let's see what our clarifier says.
Yeah, let's see what this person's like. The devil. We've got the devil in the eighth house as a clarifier for the lovers card. I see this as someone who helps you, Aries, tap into that mysterious side. So the devil card emerging is not necessarily always a bad thing. I think particularly because it's come up as a reference to the double emergence of the lovers plus the eighth house of transformation. This is something that's going to really grow your insight into yourself and support your way of building relationships. So I think the transformation is coming through relationships for you, Aries, and particularly around the boundaries. So in the card, there's also the chains that are wrapped around the people's necks, but they're loose and they can be taken off by them if they choose to. So where are you kind of experiencing a bit of a chaining effect? And how can you loosen yourself from that experience? Or is that experience actually something you need to stay in to learn from? So, using your own discernment, Aries, as to how you can get to a place where you're grounded, feeling connected to yourself, feeling safe, and feeling well cared for by the people around you.
Beautiful. Aries, in your ninth house of higher mind, travel, adventure, and expansion, you have the Page of Pentacles. So this is suggesting that you are really following your enthusiasm around something to do with expansion, adventure, travel. Maybe you've got a little bit of an itch to expand in some way. It doesn't necessarily have to be literal travel, like leaving on a jet plane. It can be expanding into new ways of thinking and new ways of doing things, new ways of being in a relationship, new ways of being in relationship with yourself. So expanding and adventure, inner or outwards. Let's see what our clarifier says.
So expansion as the emperor. The emperor energy is always a secure one. He knows what he's doing. He's fought many battles before. And Aries, this energy is your own. So the ram skulls on the throne as well suggest that. And I think this is someone who may be a really good guide for you. Leaning into the last couple of houses as well, just about mentorship and good coaching. It may be worthwhile actually tapping into how can you be better at listening to good feedback and also receiving care from someone who's actually just really caring about you. Sometimes we can take feedback as a criticism, but when we lean into the intention of whatever someone might be offering us, we can always see the truth in there somehow, regardless of their intention. So even if someone is saying something nasty to you and you need to separate yourself from them, you can still take some message of learning from that.
That's great, Em, and that's very much in keeping with the ninth house, higher learning. Beautiful. Aries, in your 10th house of career, your public face, your contribution to the world, you have the Magician. So the Magician is all about manifesting. So I feel in your 10th house of career and your contribution to the world, you're really starting to manifest what you want to give, who you want to be in that space. I also get the sense that in that 10th house of public image, how you come across to the world, that people really see you as somebody who knows how to get shit done. You're really earning that reputation for yourself. What's our clarifier say, Em?
10th house. Oh wow, we've got the King of Swords, and so promising too in the 10th house for you, Aries, because the King of Swords is very sure about himself. He's got a lot of experience, a lot of wisdom under his belt, and the sword is not so much a weapon, it's something that is discerning. It's about making decisions as well. So I feel like this whole reading so far has been really promising in terms of you needing the energy and the wherewithal to make a decision, whatever that decision might be. But sitting in the 10th house, it's particularly around reputation, status, work, and public image. I don't think anyone's going to doubt your presence. So that's really reassuring.
Yeah, I got inspiration as you were saying that, Em, just real quick, that you know how to make the tough calls, and you're trusted for making those tough calls and then playing out how they need to. Really great, Aries.
Mm.
In your 11th house, you have the Hierophant, Aries. So the 11th house is your house of hopes, wishes, and dreams. And the Hierophant is a card of blessing. The Hierophant is about as above, so below. So I'm wondering if there's something like a long held wish or dream that you feel is starting to come through. It feels like it's blessed, which means, you know, you're seeing the fruits of it come through in a very real way. That's how clarifiers say.
So a blessing. Oh, the Seven of Pentacles. Sorry, I couldn't see it. I was like, how is this? The Seven of Pentacles is all about you've already done so much hard work, and maybe the blessing is coming through when you actually stop what you're doing, look up and be like, oh wow, like look at everything I've already achieved. Sometimes when we have our head down, we lose perspective. And so kind of stepping back and having a bit more of an objective view of what's been happening can help you realize, oh yeah, this is okay. I'm on the right path and I just need to keep going. Or it's also time to rest and dream a little.
Lovely. In our final house, our 12th house of deep spirituality and all things hidden, you have the Four of Pentacles. So the Four of Pentacles is about holding on to something too tightly, perhaps being scared to take a risk, but it's also a strong foundation that you're resting on. I get the sense in this placement that perhaps the spiritual work you've done has become that strong foundation. The 12th house is also about all things hidden, like institution, you know, psychiatric wards, anything hidden, anything that's a little bit taboo. So is there something that you're holding on tightly around a deeply held secret that perhaps could be better served coming out? Let's see what our clarifier says.
Thanks, Fran. So the clarifier for the 12th house is the Magician. And what a card to end on, because the Magician did come up earlier, didn't it? I think in the 10th house. Yeah. So coming up again in the 12th house, I feel like there's a link between all things hidden and what's public facing and emerging as your reputation and status, Aries. So that's a really interesting link. Make of it what you will. But it's saying that whatever it is that's kind of hidden in the shadows there, you can actually manifest that to create whatever you need for yourself at this time over the next fortnight or so. And looking over the entire reading, it's teaching us about how can you balance your priorities? How can you get closer to your abundance? It's coming through in the form of making decisions really clearly, like fast coming in quickly, and also in your relationships, partnerships, whether that's romantic or business or friends or family, anything like that. But knowing that you've got the confidence and the skills and the trust from the people around you to make those good decisions. So really lean into that energy so you can manifest what you need to for these next couple of weeks.
And it's looking awesome for you in terms of recognition at work, Aries, and get out there with your creative expression. Love it.
Yay. Thanks for joining us, Aries, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.